Welcome to Chat Communications Happenings and Trends. Today we are talking with Patrick Cody, also known as Peter Douche, and he can be found on Twitter at Silly Rabbit, S-I-L-E Rabbit. We're also talking with Janet Mullins. Again, we're talking about social media and censorship. So both of you guys, welcome to the program. And Janet, you're kind of always here, but welcome.
Hi, great to be here.
It's good to have you. So let's just jump in. So speaking of Twitter specifically as a social media platform, I read an article earlier today, thank you, Janet, for giving this to me, that Twitter actually has basically about 1/3 of the world's population and used to boast itself as quote, the free speech wing of the free speech party at some point in its history, which is kind of hard to believe at this point. What's your so let's start with you, Patrick. What's your take on that?
Well, it's interesting because obviously it's the largest platform on social media, especially for political discourse. I mean, maybe Facebook, but there's no back and forth on Facebook like there is on Twitter. And we're living in a time where they are our public square. They're the place where people go to discuss ideas, to put your voice out, to promote your candidate, to promote whatever you believe in. But at the same time, they're obviously not promoting free speech anymore. I mean, you've got Janet, my account, Peter Douche, originally Angry Burner, but you look at all the accounts they've shut down, and there's no free speech anymore. I mean, there's a system of rules in place that can arbitrarily be enforced if they don't appreciate your opinion. And you've got, I don't want to get into the network of bots, but there's a network trying to get people kicked off to end free speech for people that have different opinions than them.
So, Janet, I'm going to throw the question over to you. What's your take on that, on what Twitter, I guess their former CEO, said about the platform?
I don't know. Like maybe one time they thought it was free speech. I don't know. I would like to see what's happening on other parts of Twitter, not just politics, politics Twitter. But I don't know. I mean, they are allowing the exact thing they say that they're stopping is the targeted harassment, and that's what they're allowing, and it's just nuts. I mean, they were told about this time and time again. They've been told. So I don't know if a human's seeing this, but I mean, people report this all the time about the targeted harassment and about, you're punishing the ones that are getting harassed, and that it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, like take when Peter Douche was taken off, I mean, you had this one person out there saying, yeah, I reported him like day and day and every day. I reported him every day, and he finally went, yay, and I mean, that's targeted harassment. I mean, that's exactly what it is. And nothing happened to them. And, we lost Peter Douche. There's no way that anyone thought that Douche was down. I
mean, right. I mean,
so, well, if I remember correctly, Patrick, didn't your account specifically state that it was a parody account, which was actually in accordance with Twitter's guidelines?
Well, exactly, and I never would have violated their guidelines because my purpose was to have a voice, and I knew that they would have silenced me if I violated their guidelines. They have specific rules about what it takes to be a parody account. And I went above and beyond those rules. So my icon had not just an image of the person I was mocking, but it had cartoon donuts all around them to reference donut Twitter. But no person in their right mind would think Peter Dow had an image of himself with donuts all over it, cartoon donuts. And I specifically said I was a parody in the profile. I mean, that's the point, is that, yeah, go ahead. But
your account was Angry Burner, and your handle was Peter Douche. I mean, Dow call himself douche? I mean, maybe he should, but I mean, like, I don't know, like, who could have mistaken you? I mean, no one would have mistaken you for Dow.
Right.
Okay,
But they created specific rules and put them out there. And that's the big point, is that, so I had an account with almost 20,000 followers, and instead of giving me an obligation, or an opportunity, I should say, to comply with the rules, or to tell me where I violated the rules, or to suspend me even for a day or 2 days or 3 days or a week, they just shut my account down. And in violation of their own rules, I was not notified until I appealed the case, and I simply got an email back saying, your account is impersonating and it will not be reopened. So, I mean, so if someone wants to express their free speech and then they say something that's a teeny bit out of line, but you don't have an opportunity to correct yourself and you're forever banished from the social platform, is that fair? I mean, these are things that we need to talk about. And in a year with the account, I'd never once been accused of abusive behavior. I'd never had a single suspension whatsoever, and it went straight to permanently banned. So that tells you. Yeah.
It's interesting because we don't really know what was out of line, right? Is that it? Because there's guidelines onto kind of saying like, don't do this, don't do that, but it's not there. There are no specifics outlined in those guidelines.
Right, but they specifically say we allow parodies. It's actually written into their guidelines that they allow parodies. So if you allow parodies, how is my parody crossing a line that other parodies aren't? It's not.
So I think, so I guess this will be for both of you. In the article that I referenced earlier by Caleb Leetaru, he basically stated that basically they have thrown this free speech idea out of the window in favor of being, or kind of catering to corporate America, or to global corporatism. Do you think that may be part of it, or do you think there's maybe something more nefarious going on, maybe more governmental control and governmental censorship? So what's your take on that?
Well, I don't think they're different. I think you got the same ideals there. I mean, the corporate interests are the more nefarious interests, and it's just to silence people that are trying. It's mostly, at this point, it's mostly about Medicare for all. I hate to bring it to one issue, but you look at. But it really is. I mean, that's the one corporate issue that Democrats can't handle losing this in 2018. If we get a lot of people that are progressive on board, we might get Medicare for all, which would piss off all the donors for the Democratic Party. I mean, if you look at who funds them, it's Big Pharma and it's the pharmaceutical companies. So anyway.
Janet, has that been your experience as well?
Yeah, I've mentioned this before. Out of since the summer when I really started getting trolled hard, I traced 4 of the main people trolling me, or other people have traced them, or they just had in their bio that 2 of them work for pharmaceutical companies, and a third worked for a third party billing with for Medicare and other insurance, and the 4th was on a private insurance company. And I mean, hello, it just tells me right there. I mean, this is what I mainly fight for, was Medicare for all, single payer, for years. And here, why are my trolls all connected to the medical field? I don't know.
So out of curiosity, this article that I keep referencing, the author basically says that based off of information from Project Veritas, which I'm pretty sure that you guys are aware, they are not known to be honest actors. Having said that, This Project Veritas is stating that, or has claimed that the accounts that seem to be targeted or at least suspended more frequently have been right wing accounts. What's your take on that?
I mean, I can't vouch for the statistics behind any of this stuff, and I'd hate to back up Veritas and any of this, but I know that Twitter wants a centrist opinion. So it's good to have the far right, illogical, radical views out there because they're always going to be seen as fringe. And when you put the fringe up against the center, it's an easy, good versus evil, lesser evil kind of argument. But when you put progressive ideas out there, you've got ideas that even the Republicans, the red states agree with. When you make an argument about healthcare, economic equality, that sells everywhere. And that's why you've got all the arms of the Democratic consultants and and if you see Twitter as part of them, which I don't entirely see Twitter as, there's a possibility that Twitter is caught up in navigating who's trying to manipulate them. And I don't mean to say that Twitter is necessarily, this is all about them being some evil party that's being malicious. I think they're on some level caught up with who's taking advantage of their system, who knows their systems, who knows how to manipulate the bots and get rid of the voices on the other sides of their opinion. So like when you look at Sally, Jesus, I blocked out her last name.
Albright.
Yeah, Sally Albright. It's been so long since I've been able to talk to her since I've been blocked. I don't even remember her name. But they've weaponized the system that Twitter has, and that's something that's undeniable. So no matter what position you think Twitter is taking in this, it's being weaponized to silence voices. And maybe Democrats are better at it, maybe Republicans are better at it. It doesn't matter, but the centrist voices are what they want if you're the Democrats.
Well, Twitter, if you noticed, I'm also, you don't know this, but I'm also blocked by Sally Albright. However, I do know that she has not had her account suspended or banned, even though it has become very, very well known, at least in the Twitter community, that she utilized bots and she utilized, I guess, dead people and inactive accounts as if they were active accounts, speaking on behalf of a particular political ideology or for a political ideology, which is actually against Twitter's terms of use. You cannot masquerade as someone else or hack other people's accounts, which is essentially what has happened here. And this is a great example of somebody not getting penalized for that.
When was it? Was it back in January or was it before the end of the year? They put out a tweet, Sally and Cape Daddy, with the picture of them two, and then two other people that were, that one was DNC type person, and then I don't know who the fourth person really was, but they went to Twitter and they took this picture and they said, we met with people at Twitter. Yeah, and then all of a sudden you had Cake Daddy get this whole new, and he just started in on people like crazy, and he said, "Oh well, I can't be touched." So what are we supposed to take for that? What are we supposed to take if you have a person that went to Twitter saying abusing like harassing people, calling the names that he calls people are just disgusting.
And by went to Twitter, you mean they talked to, who did they talk to?
They actually went on site to the Twitter offices.
Okay, and they were able to talk to.
They took pictures with their arms around the Twitter. I don't know what level in Twitter they worked, but they took pictures with people at Twitter.
Maybe not people at Twitter, maybe just a PSYOPs. I mean, I'm just saying that they're allowed to go there, and then Sally comes back. Sally does what Sally does, and keeps doing what Sally does, and I mean, she never gets kicked off. And then Cake Daddy, I mean, yeah, he's been taken down a little, but he sits there and says he's untouchable, and you know, I haven't seen him totally getting taken down yet, and he says like the most horrendous thing. I mean, about fellow black people, he says the most horrendous things to them.
Well, I have a story about probably what helped my account actually rise to be more popular. I don't know. You can edit this out later if it's too much, but one of Peter Dow's followers that was also back a blue check back in the day, but a verified account, was debating someone else and tweeted some just really terrible anti-Semitic stuff like, "Oh, shouldn't you be someone else helping Bernie throw people into the fires with Nazi stuff?" It was awful, right? I don't even remember word for word what she said, but it was awful. So I called her out on that and screenshot her tweet because I knew she'd delete it. And then she actually went to Peter Dow and got him on board to try to get me kicked off of Twitter for doctoring a tweet. So it became this big campaign of her threatening lawsuits against anyone that brought this up. Peter Dow actually tweeted about it 3 or 4 times saying, "You guys," he sent his minions over to get me kicked off of Twitter. But I think this was before the big panic about some of the bots, and they didn't have the excuse to kick me out. Like, there were people on Twitter that had to obviously look at the account and realize this lady said that stuff. So they had no basis to make that argument. But here's one verified account just blanketly defending another verified account for some really horrible anti-Semitic comments.
Right.
And he's sending people to get me kicked off of Twitter. That's targeted harassment. But of course, there's no recourse for me. I can't get Peter Dow kicked off of Twitter for doing that. I can't get her kicked off Twitter, although she was eventually kicked off Twitter because she's a really horrible person. But I didn't even report her. I mean, that's, we weren't living in this world where everyone reported anymore. I suppose some people were, but I still don't live in that world. I don't report people unless I think they're dangerous, truly dangerous. You say some awful stuff, fine, I can block you. I mean, we're adults. I mean, I have a problem with how Twitter treats this. Are we all going to live in a Verret world? Is Twitter Verret now? Is it that protected to where it's such a bubble that if you have an opinion that rubs someone a little bit wrong, you're gone?
Oh, I think they treat us like children. I mean, if I want to say fuck you, then I'm going to say fuck you. Like, it's just a fucking word.
It's very interesting because at one point, the person who owned Twitter went to Congress to basically tell them, we're not going to censor anybody. We won't even take off down tweets from alleged and known terrorists. And now we're in a state where something that we may or may not have done, like in your case, Patrick, you don't know why your account was completely deactivated, do you? The original.
Right. And they're using everything now with the Russia story as an argument to suppress free speech more. I mean, it is the backdrop for both Twitter and Facebook going to before Congress and saying, "Oh look, we're doing what you want. We're silencing people." I mean, and it's almost like now if they don't silence more people and make more protections against these things, they're going to get more backlash from people. So this is the environment they wanted to create. I mean, I don't know if it's intentional, but this is the environment that has been created to where they're almost silencing people to please people. Like, it's going to be more people are going to say, "Oh, good job, Twitter is cracking down on the Russians," when they silence all of us.
Oh, when they took me down, it was like one of the trolls out there was sitting there like, "Oh, I totally forgot about her." Yeah, because I don't harass you people. I don't. I go to like, bigger accounts. I go to like Joy Reid, and I go to Peter Dow. I mean, no, I don't go to Peter Dow because I'm blocked by him, but like I'll go to Tom Watson, and I leave like one comment, and I mean, ha ha ha, or I quote tweet them or something. But I mean, I move on. But they're coming in our threads and they're like completely harassing us. I mean, I get people sending me stuff all the time, like people saying things about me. I'm like, whatever. But I mean, I I live in my DMs, in my mentions. Those are the two places. Those are the only two places I can get to. I'm not out on my timeline. I don't have the time for it. And so I mean, have even less time for trolling. I'm not out there trolling. Really not out there. And then what they told me that I got taken down for is that I, calling this guy a creepy stalker, albeit it was 22 times, but calling this guy a creepy stalker, I was in like hateful conduct.
From what I'm coming to understand, based off of what both of you are saying, is that the rules that are being applied seem to be applied ambiguously. And when they are applied and you know why, I guess in your case, Janet, why you were taken down, it's like, what is your definition of hate speech?
Oh, no, they gave me the definition. It's the definition of hate speech. It's, saying anything against race, religion, sexual orientation, and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it seems like their definition of hate speech is quite broad in some instances.
Well, and that's the point is that, there's my mic, sorry. And that's the point is that they can arbitrarily enforce any of these rules. So, obviously Twitter is a public forum and they're a public business and they can do what they want. And those are the way the free speech laws work. But given the power that they have and the platform that they have and how centralized our social media is, we have to change that. I mean, it has to change. If you don't change it, you end up with splintered groups. So people always say, well, why don't you start a progressive, Twitter? Well, what good would that do? I mean, that doesn't put your ideas out. That doesn't counter the narrative that's being put out on TV every day. Your ideas don't mesh with other people's ideas. So you can't do that. It's right. Not enough.
Yeah, and
you also always hear the argument about, well, get out of your bubble. You should get out of your bubble. You can't do that if you are on a platform that is solely tailored to one ideology or one thought.
Right, and just to take it back to the idea that, Lumpy Janet, sorry. So she gets kicked off for debating someone or, defending herself from a stalker. Well, I used to love having political debates and sort of mocking people and doing it in character. It was easy and fun, and I think it pointed out a lot of their ridiculousness. And it only would take usually one or two tweets, and they would bail the hell out of there and block me. Right? But I don't want to do that now because going into that gets me it makes me ripe for a targeted campaign to point out that I said something, even though I've never abused someone or never been accused of. I mean, I've been accused of it, but I've never been suspended for any abuse of things. But if I get into this targeted thing, or not targeted, but if I get into a debate with Cake Daddy, or if I get into a debate with Sally Albright, who I was in a debate with when I got suspended, literally in the middle of one, it just means I'm probably not going to be on Twitter next week. So they're winning by what they're doing already. I mean, they've already silenced me in a way. I mean, I found a way to still have a voice, but some of what they've tried to do has worked because of it, even with me. Because I'm less likely to take on these ridiculous people because I know what it could lead to.
Yeah, I've been the same since like December. I, like three and done, like I don't push my luck. But this guy, I was going. I mean, we were like joking. He was going back and forth joking, and but you know, I call him a creepy stalker, and then he was like, "Why are you calling me a creepy stalker?" And I'm like, "Cause you're a creepy stalker." I mean, like,
That's how you perceive the situation, Janet. How has it actually, I guess, changed your behavior?
yeah, well, after December, I kind of stopped. I mean, well, I'm that person that like I'm the I have to have the last word lady. So you know, I'm always sitting there trying to get the last word. So the way that I kind of counter that now is you know, I'll get to my second or third comment and I'll just be like, oh well, you're not here in good faith, so you know, see you later. I'm putting you on mute now.
Can I suggest something? This is my new thing. Just leave it at hashtag still withering, and then you're done. You're done. It says it all.
Still withering.
It's a good drop the mic. I'm out.
It's tough because I want to have these debates. I want to have this discourse with these people. I want them, you know, maybe to open their eyes. I want them to understand. And I mean, one of the reasons why like I would do these fights is so that outsiders would see them and see, okay, well, she's actually giving facts and information, and the other one's just kind of being a dick. So,
Right.
So that's like an interesting point that you just raised, Janet. Again, in that article, it basically said that because of social media and the anonymity of the internet, it was able to build up a level of toxicity, right? And you mentioned it's toxic now without having that freedom to vocalize what you want. So is it? I guess it's kind of like, which level of toxicity are we willing to part with? Which one are we willing to accept? Are we willing to accept a level of toxicity where hate speech is allowed on a platform, and or are we wanting to accept a platform where it's not, but anything can kind of get caught up in that, like Janet, you calling somebody a stalker, hate speech?
You were just listening to Amanda Cumming, Patrick Cody, aka Peter Douche, and myself, Janet Lumpy Louise Mullen, chat about Twitter censorship. Tune in tomorrow for our exciting conclusion, and remember to like and subscribe below and share with all your friends and family. Also, if you really, really like us, which you know you do, why not support us on our Patreon over at www.patreon.com/ActifyChat, or just hit the link in the description below. Thank you, everybody.